Hi, I'm Sarah from the upcoming. An absolute pleasure to have you here with us in beautiful Venice.
Hi.
Maybe you could kick off with a brief introduction to your film, Ordinary Failures. What can audiences expect if they watch it?
Well, Ordinary Failures is a story driven by three characters. So we follow them through one day, and their lives intersect, and they kind of change because there's something strange happening in their city. The strange natural phenomenon, and this kind of takes control of their surroundings. But they're so preoccupied by their little dramas that they don't see what's going on. So, in the backdrop, there's something going on.
And tell us a bit about the initial inspiration, but also kind of within the period you were writing it, how that kind of seeped in and informed the story you were crafting, and kind of maybe changed its direction a bit.
Well, it was a quite of an interesting setup for us. I mean, this is based on a screenplay by Klara Vlasakova. We developed it together for 3 years. And I guess you're referring to parallels, possible parallels with the pandemics and the war in Ukraine. And these are current events, but we had all this in the script before, but I really think that this is something that this kind of change, this kind of events, we all felt it in the air. So we put these in the script, and it was quite strange to see how things evolve and things from our script become real around us, like the chaos when the pandemic struck and the contradiction between the authorities. Someone was saying something, someone was saying something else. All this already exists in our script, and then we decided not to be shy about it and keep them in the script. In the beginning, we thought we were doing something with a touch of sci-fi, but as the pandemic struck, it was very clear that this is not sci-fi. This is real, unfortunately.
I think that's such a crucial point because there seems to be a lot in popular culture and in cinema about dystopias, but there's this sort of sense of dread that the gap between our everyday reality and a dystopia seems to be closing. So is that something that seemed to be more and more acute as you were making your film?
Yes, yes, it's true that I feel many people around us are very anxious with regards to with what's going on. Rightly so. I'm also worried reading the news. At the same time, with this film, we were trying to somehow find a solution to obviously not the world's problems, because a film can't do that, but a film can influence the way you think or the way you see things. And throughout these 3 years of development, I kind of started feeling that, especially during the pandemic, I saw that we're all isolated in our little bubbles, but actually the connection with the other is so important. And I think true communication is something that helps us reflect on things a bit better. So if there's any hope for some development or something better, is actually communicating with each other better, I think.
And tell us about, finding a wonderful cast, because this was going to be really crucial to the success of your film, not just them individually, but how they work together. So how did you choose Hannah, Teresa, and Silva? And I understand you interviewed cast like 700 girls for one of the roles. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah. For the teenage girl, I looked at more than 700 young actresses. But it was interesting that eventually we worked with the only person who told me I don't want to be an actress. But I have to tell you that I am the character you're looking for. I'm that person. Yes, Nora Klimeshova is the young actress. She's 15 now. She was 13 when I met her. Well, I'm a Romanian-Hungarian director, and it was the first time for me to direct in the Czech Republic. So, of course, I've watched Czech films. I've been to the theater, but it was through casting director Maja Hamplova that I got to know so many new faces. And it was important for me to meet these people in real life. I didn't want to see self-tapes, or obviously was watching films they've done before, but I wanted to meet all these people live. The casting took, I think, a year and a half to complete. It was an interesting trip for me. How I chose them, I think it's a matter of course, my taste. It's a matter of the interaction and the chemistry they had with each other. But I'm really happy all these actors said yes to this project, because I think they worked very well together.
Coming to the elements of the supernatural, what were you sort of taking maybe as reference points or inspiration for that? And what was your approach in terms of the filming and cinematography, how you kind of conjured these feelings of the mysterious, I suppose?
Well, what I was interested in from the very beginning is how to keep this mystery alive without over explaining anything, but still keeping the viewer interested. Because obviously, if you say something, you show something, and then you say, I'm not going to tell you what it is. After a while, you're like, well, okay, I'm going to switch the channel, leave. So that was an interesting task for me to how to keep this mystery intact. I was very keen on exploring natural phenomena that exists, but that's very rare, like St. Elmo's fire, when in certain weather conditions some things spark, catch fire. Another natural event called Sprite, which is like this red light in the sky that happens very high in the sky in conditions of storm. We rarely see it, but when we do, we're like, wow. But also summer natural wildfires, or not natural because sometimes people cause them, which seem to me very apocalyptic and very devastating, which happen very often nowadays during summer. So I was mainly looking at natural events and try to combine them to see how we can use that in the film.
And some of the specific imagery, how did you create that? And what maybe some of the techniques that you used?
Well, I think it was a blend between the cinematographer's work, Mark Dury, the SFX team, special effects team, the VFX team, and the production designer, because Tonda Shilar, because he also had ideas on how to create the spark, how to put the black water into the tap. How do we create signs that this world, the natural elements in this world are becoming strange? For example, Antonin Schilar was thinking, there's a crack in the wall. What if I take a straw and with some smoke of cigarette, we blow through it, and then the smoke comes out through the cracks? So it's all kinds of like think outside the box things.
And was there particular moments on the shoot that you found particularly challenging, or were there highlights for you?
If I should choose what was the most challenging between having more than 100 extras, an action scene, having a live cat birth, having a robotic dog, or children, I don't know which one I would choose, but I don't think these were definitely challenging, but none of them was really a problem. It just needed a different approach. But the fact that we had 3 different stories, each with their own specificity, kind of kept us very fresh. You could never get bored with something. We never spent too much time shooting in one place. It was a real cat birth, live cat birth that we had in the film. We had 2 cats. We contacted a cat farm, so to say, and the lady said there that yes, she will have some pregnant cats who are due this and this time, and if we want to, we can come shoot that. We had a B unit, which was the cat birth unit, who was available from this and this time. Fortunately, the cat who is struggling, the little kitten who was struggling in the film and who was almost choking, made it. So maybe the cat birth was the most challenging for me because I was so worried about the kittens.
And what do you hope the impact of your film to be? I guess, is there something about both, allowing some catharsis, allowing us to think through the time that we're living through, but also a sense of hope, or propelling people into action in a sense, giving people, rather than being sort of sleepwalking into what we might think is political or natural disaster, can we actually take agency and connect with others and try and change the course of what's happening in front of us?
I mean, I don't think a film can give solutions, but I really think a film can inspire, which can then lead to action, because it can influence the way you think. It can give you ideas. It can help you reflect on yourself, on your choices, perhaps make different choices, communicate with someone else in some other way. So I really hope that in a way this can help people reflect on taking a step back and not be so preoccupied by their own ordinary failures. Take a step back, look at the big picture, and see how actually everything is connected. And I think we're a bit stronger if we all take a step back and look at the good of the greater scale of things and not just our own little dramas.
Obviously, it's a very female lens, very feminist lens, and you've kind of tapped into, with all these different characters and the different challenges they're facing, something that I guess most women would find something to relate to. Why do you think it's really important that we're seeing more of this on screen now? But do you still think there's a way to go for having kind of very female-driven narratives, whether that's TV or film, or do you think there's progress to be made?
I think it's to me, this story would be similar if it would be with men. but it felt Clara had them as female characters from the beginning, and I felt that sure, I don't need to change them. There, I can relate to them. I can also relate to a film with male characters. But I did notice also with my previous film, which also had female characters, that often I get this comment or I get this feedback that men found it easy to connect with the characters in spite of them being a woman. So I think often as girls, we are raised to be able to identify with female and male characters on screen, but males somehow feel it more natural to identify just with male characters. So I feel this somehow, perhaps I'm putting one stone to a broader path. But I still feel that there's a long way to go to normalize having a protagonist who's 60 plus and who doesn't need to be young to be beautiful, who doesn't need to be somebody's grandmother. She's a character in her own, she's a main character of her own worth and not someone's acolyte. So I'm really happy that we can do something for this, but it wasn't necessarily our task. It just came natural to do it like this.
And do you still think there's, much of a discrepancy between the opportunities for female screenwriters and filmmakers, or do you see that really improving? How do you see the landscape?
Yes, I do think there's a big gap between the opportunities men are getting than what young female directors are getting. But at the same time, I can't just sit here and complain. I want a seat at the table, so I'm doing my work to get a seat at the table. I do see differences in the way we are treated. I was just the other day sitting at the festival table discussing the protocol of our premiere, and some producer came to me to ask me if I can get his accreditation. And then I realized that actually he thinks I'm an assistant to the festival, and I was telling him, I'm a filmmaker, just as you are. But I was standing there next to my producer. He didn't go to my producer to ask him for his accreditation. So I was amused, but I can't take this too dramatically. I have to laugh about it and move on because I have films to make and some things to say. And I really hope that the fact that I get to make films, other people get to make films. And I really hope that the landscape becomes broader with more types of voices, because this is what I believe leaves a proper mark of our times. So when people look back, what films were made in 2022, I hope they get to see more types of films, not just like one.
And in particular, what does it mean to you to have your film here in Venice? And, why are festivals like this important, I guess, for kind of propelling changes in the industry, providing platforms for different kinds of films that maybe, if you're only looking for the mainstream routes, what makes it onto the streaming platforms or into, the Hollywood cinema?
Well, I'm really happy that for more than 1,000 submissions, we're in the 10 in competition at Giornate degli Autori. I'm also proud to see that Giornate degli Autori is led by a female artistic director, and I think she's the first head of a section in the Venice Film Festival, and it's the oldest festival in the world. So you would think that they would have had time to implement this change earlier, but I'm happy that it happened now. I really hope this premiering here will give visibility to the film and to the characters in this film, and to their dilemmas about parenthood, about identity, about being over 60 and still having a seat at the table. And also I really hope that it's for female directors, it's becoming something normal. Also, we have for example, a gay couple in our film, and we were nominated for the Queer Lion, and we were so happy because we didn't set out a point to make about queerness or about lesbianism. We treated them as something normal. I really hope we get to a point very soon where this is not a topic, because we have a heterosexual family, we have a gay family, we have a widow. This is a landscape of different kind of existence, and we let our lives next to each other.
And just very quickly, do you already know what you might work on next, or are you going to let the dust settle on this project first?
No, I really like to focus on more things at once, because this gives me a break from the other projects, so I can look at things in context. I'm working with my screenwriter Klara Vlasakova on obviously a next story connecting people and technology and artificial intelligence and isolation. And I'm also trying to do something in Romania. Let's hope that works because that's my home country, and I've done a short, but I haven't done anything there in quite a long time. So I'm looking forward to make a comeback.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for sharing all that with us. And
Thank
really
you.
enjoy the rest of your time here in Venice. Thank
Thank you.
you.